What's going on, guys? Stefan, S&E's Garage. Today we are here with our newest purchase. This is a 2005 Club Car AG, gasoline, and it needs some work. You're going to kind of see that that's the theme of this channel. I buy things that require a little bit of work and a little bit of finesse to get back to like new. The thing runs great, it drives great. But the driven clutch, this has it's belt driven. It's basically a CVT. So you have two clutches. You have a driven and a drive clutch. So primary and secondary. My primary clutch, the sheath is kind of worn and it's got some play in it. Makes some noise when you first take off. So we do have a new clutch here for it. And we are also going to be lifting this thing 6 inches and putting it on 22-inch wheels. The lift is here, the tires are not, so I'm just going to start playing with it and, set it up on the jack. And I was able to actually bring all of my tools home with my new job. So I have everything here I'm going to need to do this. So what we went with was the Jake's lift. So this is, like I said, a Club Car DS. So this is a 6-inch spindle lift. So it's going to come with new spindles and then blocks and U-bolts for the back. I didn't need to go crazy on it. I just wanted it to look nice. So this is kind of just what we went with here. But we're going to go ahead and get the front of this thing set up on the jack and put some jack stands under it. Now what's pretty cool is it did come with blinkers. So I have a left blinker, I have a right blinker, and I actually have hazards too. And there is a button here for a horn. Whoever had this before me just did not set the horn up. I actually have that also sitting right here. So at some point we're going to get that on. But today I think I'm just going to focus on lifting the front of the cart because it's probably going to be the easiest. When I do the back, I'm going to have to drop the motor a little bit to get to that clutch because I'm probably going to need a puller to get that off. So we'll mess with that another day. It's going to be the same video for you, but it's going to be, over a couple days or maybe a week or so. So let's go ahead, get it set up on the jack stands, get the front wheels off. Alright guys, we got her set up on the jack and jack stands. I actually went ahead and took the jack out. This thing's pretty light, so I really don't think I need the added support of the jack. So the next step of this lift is to remove these factory hubs from the spindles. So we're going to go ahead, this is a plastic hubcap, so be careful with that. I'm just going to stick a screwdriver in there and kind of work this off. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. There's probably going to be a nut and a cotter pin in here. Once I get these hubcaps off, I'll show you where we're at. And we're going to go ahead and pull these hubs off. So I just kind of wanted to get this on camera and show you. They come off super easy. You just kind of stick your screwdriver in there and give it a little twist. And you'll see it's already starting to come off. And we're just going to work our way around until it's off like that. And we're going to go ahead and figure out which size socket this is. And we're going to zip them off. And we'll be able to pull our hubs right off these spindles. Alright guys, so the spindle nut here is a 21. One thing that I thought was kind of cool, I thought these were going to be greasable bearings. They're not. These are actually sealed. And they both spin really nice. So I'm not thinking I'm going to have to replace them. But we did take our hubs off of the factory spindles. So let's see what's next. We'll go from there. So up next, they want us to remove these tie rod ends here from the spindles. So to do that, we're going to have to pull these cotter pins out. Then we're going to take the castle nut off. I might have to tap this with a hammer or something to get it to break free, but we'll check that out. So let me go ahead and get these cotter pins off on both sides, get the castle nuts off on both sides, and we'll take it from there. Alright guys, we got our castle nuts off, one on this side, two on that side, and our tie rod end out. The way the passenger side is set up on this is kind of weird. So the steering rack here connects to the spindle here, and then from there there's another tie rod that connects this spindle to that spindle. So the steering rack only has one tie rod end on it, which I thought was pretty cool. So we got all that disconnected. Both of these spindles kind of, spin freely. So let's go check the direction, see what they want us to do next. So the next thing it wants us to do is go ahead and remove these spindles. So we're going to figure that one out together. I'm thinking I'm going to disconnect it down here at the leaf spring and up here, and I should be able to pull this whole thing out. Let's check it out. Alright, so I got the spindle off on this side. I just kind of wanted to show you guys how I did it over here. I can't seem to find my tripod right now because I moved all my tools in last week and it got misplaced. So if it's a little shaky, I'm sorry. But the first thing we're going to want to do on this side here is crack this 19mm right here loose. Now I accidentally on the other side, I took this through bolt off first and it made it impossible to crack this loose. So I'm going to leave that on. I'm going to break this loose. And once it's loose, I can go ahead and take this off. So we're just going to get it loose. It's on there real tight and it's a nylock. Okay, so now that that's loose, I can zip that off the rest of the way with my impact gun. So let me grab that. It is over here. I'm trying to do this as best I can with one hand, so don't mind me. Okay, so we're going to come over here. We're going to zip this 19mm loose and off the rest of the way. And now we can go ahead and take this nut and this bolt out. Those are 14mm. Alright guys, so I got my new passenger side drop knuckle on, or lift knuckle, whatever you want to call it. Now one thing that kind of confused me is that the steering arms are separate from the knuckles, and there's a driver's side and a passenger side. I just want to show you that the passenger side has this little L bracket on it to mount the tie rod off of the steering rack. The driver's side steering arm, which is over here, does not have that. It just has the one, just like the steering knuckle on the driver's side had. So what I need to do now is, like I said, we slid this knuckle on to the spindle. So what we need to do is tighten all 4 of these nuts and bolts, and then we can go ahead and install our bracket that we removed earlier back on. And then as far as I can tell, this side is done other than connecting everything. So then we'll go over to the other side. Alright guys, back on the driver's side, we have our steering arm connected here to the knuckle. We have all of our nuts and bolts tightened. This was, I believe, 14mm. That's tight. That was a 19. That's tight. Everything here's tight. We didn't touch anything on the bottom. So now the next step is to connect all the tie rod ends. Now, depending on the model club car you have, according to these directions, you may have to drill out the holes for the tie rods. Let me see here. Reattach tie rod ends to new spindles. Note, if your stock tie rod ends are not tapered, you will need to enlarge the tie rod end holes in the new steering arms to 1/2 inch. So you may or may not need a 1/2 inch drill bit. I don't know if mine are tapered or not. If they're not tapered, I'm going to have to drill it out, which is going to suck because it's already in. But I think I'm in good shape because they do look like they're tapered. So I'm just going to go ahead and start putting all these castle nuts in, putting the cotter pins back in, and then we're going to move on to installing the hubs on the knuckles. Alright guys, we got all of our tie rod ends hooked up. Passenger side over here, driver side, cotter pins in. So the next step's probably going to be to install the hubs on these spindles. So let's go grab them. Alright guys, both of our hubs are on, both of our lift spindles are in. Everything's tight, cotter pins are all in. So now we're going to throw the wheels on, get this thing off the jack stands, and we're going to move on to the back. I don't think I'm going to tackle that today. That's going to be a project for another day, but it's going to be in the same video for you guys, so we'll be right back with you. We'll start on the back. Alright guys, so 2 of our wheels came in. These are 12-inch wheels, and the tires are 22-inch tires. The size here is 22 by 11 by 10, or by 12, sorry. Now one thing I wanted to mention here is in the near future I'm going to be putting a back seat kit on this thing so I can have people sitting in the back seat. Now the leafs that are on this cart, because it is a gasoline cart, they only have 1 leaf. And they're not going to be strong enough to hold the weight of 2 people on the back. And the way the lift kit works is it's basically just blocks that bring the whole axle down. and you reuse the stock leaves, and that's just not going to work for me because it's going to make the whole back of this golf cart sag. So what I went ahead and did is I ordered some heavy duty leaf springs. They're 3 leaves, 2 curved and 1 flat overload leaf. I didn't think I needed a 3 leaf because this is not an electric cart. It does not have 200 pounds worth of batteries under the seat. So we're going to see how the 2 leaf does. I'm sure it's going to be fine. But we're going to mount these 2 wheels that I received today on the front that it's already lifted from last time. We're going to see how it looks. These came in 2 shipments. I'm still waiting on the other 2 wheels. But we did get all 4 of our hubcaps, and we got some nice lug nuts too. So let's get it on and see how it looks. Alright guys, so we got the front wheels and tires on with the front lift. You can see the golf cart is off the jack, so that is actually going to be the front ride height. So now all we have to wait on is our rear leafs and the 2 back tires, and we'll get going on that. So see you in a couple seconds. Alright guys, we got everything we need here to do the back of the golf cart now. We have my upgraded leaf springs. We have our lift kit here, and we have our 2 new wheels. So let's get started. We put the jack stand up under the golf cart, set it on the jack stands right by the rear leaf springs where they tell you to. And now I'm going to remove the wheels. So let's get the wheels off. Alright guys, wheels are off. The next step here is going to be to put the jack up under the rear axle and then unbolt the rear U-bolts. So there should be 4 bolts on each side. Unless, no, I lied. There's only 1 U-bolt, so there's 2 bolts on each side. And that's gonna basically unbolt the axle from the leaf spring. Let's go ahead and get that done. Alright guys, we got the U-bolts and shock unbolted on this side. And we got the same on this side. So now we're going to take these shackle bolts off, the rear shackles, and the front shackles up there, and we're going to get these springs out. Alright guys, so I got my 2 original leafs out, and these are the 2 upgraded ones, and you can just see the difference. These are 3 leaf springs, these are 1 leaf. So these have 2 arcs and 1 overload leaf. These are just 1 arc. So when I do put the seat on the back of this thing, this will much better be able to support the load. So let's see what's next. Alright guys, so the next thing you're going to have to do is drill out the factory shock mount and emergency brake holder where the U-bolts go in, this hole here and this hole here to 1/2 inch. I already went ahead and did that on both sides. Here's my metal from that. So the next thing we need to do is put a little insert. It's like an Allen key hex head that the lift kit comes with into the center hole on these guys. So I'm going to do 1 on each side. Alright, so we have our inserts here. It doesn't tell me to put a nut on the back of them yet, so I'm not going to. So we're going to go ahead and start installing these leaf springs into where they go. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is install these on the top of the axle. I already went ahead, like I said before, I drilled out the 2 shackle bolt locations, and I put those Allen keys in where they tell you to. So now these are going to go in this way with the short side facing the front of the cart. I'm going to put both of them in now. Alright guys, so I put these nuts in on the back side of those Allen head bolts. They actually center the rear axle on the golf cart, so the directions did actually tell me to put them nut on there now. So the next thing I'm going to do is install the leaf. I'm just going to do it on the front. I'm going to lower this axle down a little bit, and I'm going to let it rest on top of these blocks. And then from there we put these top shock mounts on top of the leaf, followed by the U-bolts. So let's get to it. Alright guys, we got our new leaves loosely bolted in the front. They're still out in the back. The next thing it wants us to do is put these shock mounts in with the shock hole facing in towards the center of the cart and to the back. So let's do that. Alright, so we got the new lift shock mounts in place. Next is U-bolts. So we're going to put the U-bolts through the new lift plates and then through the bottom old shock mounts, and it basically sandwiches everything in. Alright guys, U-bolts are bolted in. Next, get the rear springs lined up, bolted in, and then rear shocks. Alright guys, U-bolts are in, leaf springs are in, tightened everything up. Let's jack it up, get some wheels on it, see how it looks. Alright guys, so here she is. She sits nice and level. Everything's done, lowered down. One thing I do want to show you, I don't know if you'll have this problem, but I did. I actually had to go ahead and make a new ground strap. It's basically the strap that goes from the starter to the frame under here, and it actually grounds out the starter mechanism so that the golf cart will start. Now if I bring you over here, I just want to show you the factory one was only about that long, and when you lower those you're actually dropping the whole motor down, and it was really stretched. So I made some with a thicker gauge copper wire, and I put 2 ends on it. That end actually got pulled off, so I'm just gonna reinstall this and then she'll be ready to go. Alright guys, so we made our maiden voyage with the club car. Everything was great. The only thing I had to do is I had to do a little bit of a wheel alignment. It was towed in way too much. With these you generally want about 1/4 inch toe in, and I had like 2 inches toe in. So I towed it out and I got the front right around 39 inches and the rear is at 39 1/4. So they're towed in, meaning the front of the front wheels are 1/4 inch closer than the back. So, thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe. See you on the next one.